Well, what have we here? It's Wednesday, November 15th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. I got to turn down some sounds. I always have extra sounds going in my ear. New technology is always a blast. Way to go, Bob Harris. Appreciate everyone coming in. It's time to go on the hot seat, as we like to do every Wednesday evening. First, FootballDiehards.com is the website. You can go there. There's all kinds of cool stuff. But we also appreciate you joining us here every Wednesday at this very time. And Saturdays at noon for the Ask Me Anything videos, where I will ask you, well, you will ask me anything, and I will answer your questions. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Like me, or not. I'm going to dislike me right now just so the seal is broken. If anyone wants to jump in and dislike me as well, you won't feel like you're the first one. It's not that bad. I can take it. Jay can't. And that's my guest. For this very program, I always like to bring on super smart people to help us talk through all the issues of the day. Many developments that will impact our many impacts on our fantasy rosters, lineup strategies, things that we'll need to figure out this week. We'll get into all of that without you, and with our guest tonight. So let's get started with that. Jay Felicio from The Athletic and other places,
FTN as well.
Yes.
Jay, how are you? I need to just doing good. Just actually right before I got on here, I didn't have time to change. I got thrown up on by my 7-month-old, so that's how I'm doing. But overall, doing pretty well.
What more can you ask? So pardon any confusion here. I'm my first time. You might have noticed it looks different here. I don't have a desk to bang on. I mean, I do, but you can't see it. You can see Jay right next to me, looking very dapper. We can see you as well. Nice to see you, Golf Boys. Nice to see you, Rookie. He was here very early, hitting the like button. John Fusek here as well. Hello, John. Appreciate you. Pat V, Toronto, Dave. So many great people. Oh, look, it's Dame. Love all the people here. Hello, Mr. Scampers. Andrea, hello. Mr. Scampers, hello. Look at me go. Like I'm like already a KG Wiley veteran of this crazy sophomore. Dave Listman, hello. Good to see everyone. So thought this would work a little better. We're trying out new things. Like I'm an old dog. I can learn new tricks. Not afraid of that.
Before we started, Bob, I'm happy I can be here for your first time. And if you need any tips or anything, I'll hold your hand.
I appreciate that. You would hold my hair, except I don't have any. So there's that as well. A lot of things going on, as always, this week. By the way, you can follow Jay on the X device at GmenJ. The G stands for like the Giants, G-men, the actual G-men, who are not very manly right now. I told him there would be no G-man talk, and there won't be, except Tommy DeVito, a little beat up, the studly quarterback of the Giants. Saquon Barkley, a little limited. But we got bigger fish to fry. Not going to lie, all kinds of stuff going on today. Deshaun Watson has been ruled out, not for this game, but for the rest of the season. This feels very like karmic-y, right? I mean, for all involved, the Cleveland Browns go out and, easy to say that they made a bold move and perhaps even overpaid for that asset. And all the things going on with Watson at the time. And now here he is. A broken shoulder, a fractured bone. They say it's not the same injury it was before. He's got a high ankle sprain as well. They aren't starting PJ Walker. They're starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Instead, what are we gonna do with this offense going forward? I mean, the rushing game is still solid. Amari Cooper has fared pretty well, Jay, regardless of quarterback. Are there any other playable assets here?
That's really about it, especially with bye weeks and stuff like that. You can probably throw David Njoku in there as, one of those that you're going to get 3 for 30 and hope that you get a touchdown. I think it lowers the ceiling for Amari Cooper. He was more of that mid to high end wide receiver too, especially here lately. Him and Deshaun Watson seem to really be building up the rapport. And you know what? I actually kind of like it for Jerome Ford. And I think that he's going to make up for the lack of offense with the volume. They're obviously going to rush the ball more. I will say I'm surprised that they're not going with PJ Walker being right in the thick of the playoff race.
Right.
This is like a movie you would make if the season was over and you want to evaluate them. Like it's, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they know something we don't.
Kevin Stefanski did say, so if you'll remember last time he started, it wasn't a sure thing that he was going to start. He was preparing to start, but there was possible Watson would still play. And so he wanted to see, Kevin Stefanski wanted to see what we could get with a whole, an entire full set of practices under his belt, knowing that he is going to, be the starter. So maybe they have a little something. We'll find out. But I'm with you, right? I mean, this seems like a bold experiment, much like the bold acquisition of Deshaun Watson, who they paid many draft picks for, a guaranteed $230 million contract. And what have they got out of it? Not very much so far. Although I will say, and you can chime in here, Jay, and chime in the chat as well. Like what we saw last game, it almost looked like they were starting to get what they were buying, right? I mean, he started to show signs of the Watson that was a top 5 fantasy quarterback during his time in Houston.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I'm with you. I still he's not on the field enough to be able to build that rapport, build a consistency to see that Deshaun Watson that we saw in Houston. And a lot of, his best games were inside in Houston. What's he going to look like? Well, we won't get to see this year, but in Cleveland, when the weather gets bad, it might not be pretty. So I'm with you. I think it's going to go down as one of the biggest bust trades of all time.
Yeah, probably so. Scamper's already adding DTR in his Scott Fishbowl because there are no quarterbacks there. I'm amazed that you were able to get it in. Hello, everybody who's just coming in, and I see that all liking the new digs. I like the new digs as well. Hopefully, as I get more facile at the use and I don't screw up as much. I started out the show with the entire I always have to watch the YouTube channel separately, and it's blaring in my ear and delay. It was a fantastic way to start the show. I'm going to worry about that anymore. Green Screens Media, our friend Eric suggesting that the Texans come out of this one doing pretty well. So we see your questions. We'll get to those here in a minute. Justin Fields, Jay, looks like he will be back in the mix, practicing fully. What are your expectations for him? He's got a 7-game trial to show what it's all about, and the Bears need to make some decisions on him going forward in the future. What do you think he is?
I think he is going to be somewhere in the middle of what we saw this season. People were real quick to pull the plug on him at the beginning of the year, but last year he started off slow too. And then we see him go on these stretches where he looks like he's an MVP caliber player. With the shape the Bears are in, I know they're going to have 2 early picks, but I think they'd be wise to use those picks to invest elsewhere. They said that he was close to playing last Thursday. They said they're worried about the ability to grip the ball with his thumb. So I think he's probably fully healthy, and I would expect him to jump right in. And if he's able to, rush the ball like he has in the past, he's going to be in top 10 consideration for fantasy quarterbacks, especially with the litany of injuries we have at the quarterback position. I feel like we say it every year, oh, this is the most injuries we've ever had, but it really feels that way with quarterback. I don't ever remember. I've been playing since the late 90s, and I don't ever remember a season like this when we lost so many quarterbacks.
I was on the couch with Sigmund Bloom earlier today over at Football Guys. If you get a chance, go out and watch the replay of that. But we were having the same discussion. I feel like this season's been more volatile than other seasons. The NFL's finally gotten that perfect mix of things that make every game totally uncertain, the outcomes totally up in the air, and that they couldn't be happier. And I said, but maybe not. Maybe it's like we talk about injuries every year. This is the worst year for injuries. But I do agree. This one's been pretty bad. We've got a couple other ones that, Matthew Stafford coming back from his thumb injury, which is good news for the Rams. I don't know if we're all going to be invested in anything beyond Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua is a little beat up too. Justin Jefferson looks like he's heading back, or he's getting close. Limited today. We'll see. Devin A. Chan also limited in his return to practice, but he is designated to return. We've got a game tomorrow night, Jay. We've got the Ravens hosting the Cleveland Browns. So it looks like there will be no T. Higgins, but there is a new thing, a shiny new object, and we're going to get questions about it. And we'll get to the questions here momentarily, peoples. And I see one right now. Let's just put this up here. Keaton Mitchell versus Cincinnati, or Jaden Reed versus LA Chargers. Full point. I don't even know how that's all. That's not even a hard question. Look, what do you think of the new phenom, Keaton Mitchell? It's been a very, very, very narrow band of work, but he's done amazing things with it. And it's I don't want to say it's a one-to-one comparison, but I can remember having the same conversation about Devon Achane. He doesn't get much work. How can he sustain this production? And in Keaton's case, he looks like maybe he'll get more work, as I think John Harbaugh said.
Yeah, I think you will. And one of the cool things about what I'm doing over at FTN is I'm charting plays. We were talking about that earlier today. And I actually did the run game for Baltimore this week. And I tell you what, man, he looks just like It's Achan, excuse me, right? Not Achan, before he broke out that big game. And I felt the same way that I saw him. It's like, when you're looking this close and watching plays over and over, and you see, the vision that these guys have, he's special, and he doesn't need a lot of touches. I think that if he just gets just a slight uptick, I think he's potential league winner, especially, Gus Edwards and Justice Hill haven't been able to stay on the field.
Right.
He's got to deal with Lamar Jackson rushing the ball, but he hasn't ran it as much. Like, I think there was only a handful of designed quarterback runs for Baltimore this week. I think it was like into the third quarter before I even noticed a designed run for Lamar. So I'm all in. If he's available, if somehow, I think he's worth dropping the rest of your budget, especially this late in the season. You're looking to take shots, and
right.
Keaton Mitchell could be it.
I could read off a list of league winners dating back to the early 90s. There's a running back that comes out of nowhere, but this didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. And by the way, that was a topic, the lead topic of the show with Bloom today was who is the guy that's going to win you the league and come out of nowhere. And my pick was obviously Keaton Mitchell. But if you've been watching this live stream or these shows over the course of time, Billy Musio was on here, I want to say last week, August, first week of September, pounding the fake table that we used to have, talking all about Keaton Mitchell, right? That was his guy. So I invested a few weeks back, and I am reaping those rewards. And I hope that he does. And I go, as I said earlier today, and we use this here a lot, analogy, the Sesame Street theory, which is one of these things is not like the other. And Keaton Mitchell is not like the other things there. He's a different thing, more speed, more athleticism, more agility, so more explosiveness. So, like, no knock on Gus Edwards, who has been fantastic doing what Gus Edwards does, but it's what he does. It's not the same thing. And so I think Justice Hill may be the odd man out. Are you playing Mitchell in this week's game over Jaden Reed, who, by the way, has come on for the Green Bay Packers, and maybe, arguably has been the best downfield threat for them, or at least the most consistent?
Yeah, I think I would, unless you're in a position where you need a safe 5-6 points. But I'm the type I would much rather take the upside. The Packers offenses just look so bad this year. Jordan Love has only thrown for more than 250 yards in 2 of 9 games. He's got 11 interceptions, which is second most behind Josh Allen. The Packers offense doesn't have a single wide receiver to go for 100 yards or a single running back to go for 100 yards in a game. So I don't want any part of that offense. I think that, could, even though as good as the Ravens defense is, and the Bengals defense has played better as of late, I've got a feeling we're going to have a good old fashioned shootout on Thursday night. Division rivalry shootout. I hope that may or may not be because I have a lot of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and I'm trying to will it into existence. But I'm taking the shot on the upside of Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, I think the thing for me with the Packers is it's not like great scoring. It's not a huge scoring offense. It's 17 points a game is not the worst in the world, but there are worse. But I just
the Giants.
A lot of that came early on. The touchdowns, for Jordan Love were an early thing, and we talked about it here that the passing, the completion percentage wasn't great, and there seemed to be issues with Matt LaFleur's play calling, which he has done fantastically over time, but hasn't been as great this year. There have been times when it doesn't show up. Apparently the same thing for Ken Dorsey in Buffalo. Oh, wait. Not Ken Dorsey anymore. Joe Brady now, the new offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Do you have any thoughts on this change? Could we see, did we get a little preview of what Joe Brady is thinking when we saw, or maybe he saw the same thing we saw when James Cook suddenly did things that running backs do, which is ramble down the field with the ball in his hands and take some pressure off a quarterback who's struggling, has tons of turnovers. What's he got, 11 turnovers so far this year?
Yeah. And it's, it's funny how things work. It's come full circle because Joe Brady was the scapegoat for Matt Rule. And now Dorsey is going to be the scapegoat for the Bills this season. You know what? I think it's obviously not all his fault, but I think it's, at the way that they've looked, they've just got to shake things up. Josh Allen looks like he's playing halfway in between what he wants to do and what he's been told he needs to do. They just need to unleash him. And, he's going to take some big hits, but this, hesitancy is what I think a big reason of why he's having all these turnovers. So, I'm excited. Joe Brady, that was the best the Panthers offense has looked in a long time, and they haven't really looked that great since then. So I'm excited to see what he can do with the talent like Josh Allen, and then the wide receivers that they have.
I'm with you there. We'll have Jalen Hurts coming back this week from the bye week. That's a big game, right? That's like the Super Bowl replay.
Yeah.
It'll be the Philadelphia Eagles and Chiefs. We saw Kyler Murray's return last week. Jay, what did you think of that?
I'm excited for that. Because I just traded for him in Dynasty like 2 weeks ago and he looked pretty good, so I'm happy about that. I bought the dip. But it really, for those who picked up Trey McBride a few weeks ago and didn't drop him, I think you got yourself a top 5, potentially top 3 tight end for the rest of the season. The way that Kyler Murray looked at him, there's
Right.
going to be those down games, but unless you have the Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce's of the world, you're going to get those. But he should see a consistent volume. He looked at to him, it's one game, so it's a very small sample size, but he was looking to McBride more than he did Marquise Brown. So I think that if, in Superflex leagues, obviously Kyler Murray is going to start. He's probably starting in most one quarterback leagues as well. There's going to be some tough matchups, but if he's, if you have him or if he's available somehow, if it's a smaller league or something like that, pair him with a safer, Jared Goff or Geno Smith Geno hasn't been that safe this year, but he's worth at least keeping on your roster because he's top three quarterback overall. If he really continues to stay hot.
Church organ. That is true. And so, by the way, Kyler Murray, I mean, it gives you a little bit of hope for pieces like Michael Wilson had, a 20% target share as well. A guy that maybe is available in many leagues as a free agent down the stretch run. It might be worth a little investment there. So, I think that's the thing about some of these quarterbacks. Josh Dobbs in Minnesota, I don't know if he's going to continue with great success. He's a little nicked up, but at some point he's going to have Justin Jefferson playing with him. Who is eager to get back. If you saw the tweet from him, he's like, can't wait to get back after the win. We'll see if it's this week or not. Might not be an Alexander Madison there this week. Ty Chandler, were you willing to roll with him if you have to?
I actually have to in a league. I picked him up in flex leagues. You had a couple guys that were out, so threw him in the IR. It's one of those leagues you can put out players on the IR. And what I do before every game on Sunday is pick up the backups for some running backs that are available. And Ty Chandler happened to be one of those guys, and I picked him up. And he looked pretty solid. Even before he went down, he was getting an even amount of carries with Alexander Madison. So at this point in the year with bye weeks and stuff like that, give me a warm body that's going to get some touches, and he scored a touchdown as well. So Dobbs is going to get some rushing production on the ground as well. This is, I don't mean this as an insult, although it's going to kind of sound like it. Dobbs reminds me of when Tim Tebow came on for fantasy at the end of that year, where, it's not pretty. Dobbs is a much better thrower, but he's
not a big arm guy,
right? But he chips in. You get that safety net of those, rushing yards that he has. All he has to do is throw a touchdown, and you've got a solid week. So he's somebody that the way the quarterbacks are this year, you could do much worse than Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, totally true. And so we'll get into the questions here. I just want to say, if you're just showing up, if you just tuned in and gave, what the hell's going on here? Where's the desk? Why is Bob not pounding? I am pounding on it, but only in my imagination. So this is like a new studio setup. I wanted to use this instead. Get your comments up so we can see the questions. Have a little more ease of working through some things in that regard, because this is what drives the show, is the questions. So I figure we should get into some of those right now. John Fusek, he wanted to know, and I think we touched on this a little bit, how Watson will affect Amari Cooper. I'm kind of the opinion that, and I mean the loss of Watson, if you just tuned in, he's not playing. But I'm kind of the opinion that, we tend to overinflate the quarterback play can be bad. DTR during Robinson Thomas last time he was in it was horrible, right? And that's why we ended up seeing PJ Walker. But I think, given the full week of practice, I'm not going to dial back too far on Cooper. It's probably a wider range of people I'm looking at playing, in his stead, but I don't know if I dial away completely. But if the question here specifically is, should we sit Cooper versus Pittsburgh, or Thielen versus, do I sit Cooper versus Pittsburgh, Thielen versus Dallas, or Kupp versus Seattle?
So sit one of these three is what.
Sit one of those three.
That is tough. I'm as long as Matthew Stafford's starting, and honestly, even if he doesn't, I'm still likely rolling with Cooper Kupp. So it comes down to Cooper and Thielen. And honestly, I think I would sit Cooper. We don't know what we're going to get out of DTR and Thielen. They announced today that Frank Reich is going to take back the play calling, and that's when Thielen was just getting absolutely peppered with targets.
That is
So
100% true.
I'm going to go Thielen and Kupp here.
So I'm
even
hoping,
in the tough matchup.
right? I am too, right? Like, I mean, I don't want to. I'm not dialing back on a great receiver if I don't have great options. These are great options. I mean, Thielen was going great guns. He was a true fantasy wide receiver one during that time when Reich was calling the plays,
just like we all predicted.
Just like we all predicted, as we drafted him as our wide receiver 5 or 6, and Kupp with Matthew Stafford back is an easy call as well. Remy's in the house here. Wants to know he has needs running back help. Should he start Isaiah Pacheco versus KC or Devin Singletary coming off a 150-yard game? AFC Offensive Player of the Week. The week before laid an egg. Dameon Pierce did not practice today, Jay. So it feels like this is going to be another Singletary heavy week. Are you going to be all in on this one with Singletary against the Cardinals in a plus matchup?
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going with Devin Singletary.
Oh my gosh.
It's the matchup. It's
right.
Pacheco is playing against the Eagles, who have one of the most dominant run defenses in recent memory. So yeah, it sounds blasphemous, but just that matchup, and if Pierce does somehow play, then I might pivot to Pacheco just in case they the touches come down. But great matchup. If he's getting the volume, I'm going Singletary.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on there all the way, and I'm usually not, but it is the matchup in this one. I have a question here from Pat V. Cole Kmet versus Detroit or Evan Engram against Tennessee. This Jaguars offense a little bit confounding. Trevor Lawrence not doing all the things we expect him to do. The offense in general. I'll remind people that it kind of was a build last year. We didn't think it was going to be a build this year, right? We thought they were going to come out of the chute hot, and there have been some decent games, but for the most part, it's been Travis Etienne reliant, but Ingram's had some nice games. Cole Kmet has as well. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Kmet. Evan Engram doesn't have a single touchdown on the season, which is surprising because he turned it on last year when the offense started clicking. Better matchup. He's performed better this year. I think, give me the guy who has potential to be in a shootout with Detroit. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee and Jacksonville is a slugfest, a low scoring game. And I think it could potentially be the opposite in Detroit. So yeah, give me Kmet, especially with Fields coming back.
I rank them consecutively, by the way, so it's not like there's a lot of room between them, but I will too. I will share in Jay's view here. Leaning Goff, says 513 rookie, over Josh Herbert or Justin Herbert at Green Bay. Is that crazy? No, that's not crazy.
No, at this point in the season, nothing's crazy because, Josh Dobbs outscored, who was it? Clayton Tune outscored like 5 or 6 quarterbacks last week with just the one play for the quarterback sneak. So nothing is crazy. Goff over Herbert.
It's Goff in Detroit at home. So, I mean, and he's kind of busted. He's kind of busted the home road thing. The last 2 road games have been fantastic. One of them semi-indoors in LA, but Tampa Bay was outside. The weather was nice. I get it, but he crushed both those games. So interesting. I don't know if it's kind of erased that feeling that we get when we go, oh, road Goff. But he's at home in this game. It's not that horrible matchup. Herbert versus Green Bay, not a horrible matchup. I don't know. I think I might.
What do you do? I think I'm going Goff. The one thing that Green Bay has done decently is defend the pass, and the Chargers haven't been able to run the ball as good as they would have liked this season. Green Bay's allowing just 20 points per game. They've not given up double-digit touchdowns through the air or on the ground. In Green Bay, we've seen inconsistency with Herbert away from Los Angeles. So I think I'm going Goff.
So again, consecutively ranked players here. There is not a wrong answer for me. If you prefer Goff, I have Herbert one ahead. They're both inside the top 10. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. So take your choice. Hello, Royals Lake. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Welcome to the new place. Pull up a chair,
beautiful.
Sit down, settle in. We got comments and whatnot going on here. All kinds of good stuff going on. For all of you, and more questions, of course, as we have throughout the course of the evening. Let's see. What's up next? Oh, Bob and Jay. There we go. Is it time to start CJ Stroud versus Arizona versus Josh Allen against the Jets? Now we're talking. Now we're talking
crazy. I don't know how crazy that is. I
I don't
mean,
either. I don't think it is. I mean, I think like here's the thing. Here's our problem, Jay. We will, as fantasy managers, outsmart ourselves. It is our nature, right? I
yes,
mean, if
very
you
much
give us
so.
an opportunity, we will sit here and overthink a situation. Let's just look at what we've done to date with these guys. I mean, divorce the name from the numbers is one of my favorite things to do. Josh Allen has still been pretty fantastic. The turnovers, average fantasy points per game are still 23.6. CJ Stroud, not quite at 20, 19.7. Logic, but here's where we get into the conundrum of playing hunches versus playing the logic. I mean, you can take either approach you want. I'm fine with it. My tendency is to play the depth chart, like build my depth chart and stick with it. This is a Jeff Mann's tenet. You'll hear him with me on Sunday on the Fantasy Sports Radio pregame show. But you build your depth chart and you tend to stick with it, and you don't overthink matchups or things. But this is a tough matchup. So if this is something you feel more strongly about, look, again, I'm not going to pretend I can predict with exact precision within a top 10. I'll put player to tier. Both these players are in the top tier for me. I have Josh Allen right now ranked 5 this week. I have Stroud ranked 7. It's close enough.
If this was my team, I would be starting Josh Allen. That's just the way I play. Similar to what you were talking about, the consistency. How many times have we seen guys go into good matchups and just fall flat on their face and vice versa? So give me the guy who, I love CJ Stroud, but we've only
CJ
seen
Stroud versus Carolina just 3 weeks ago?
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I'm if it was my team, I would go Josh Allen. I would not fault anybody for, going with CJ Stroud. I get it, but personally, I don't think I could bench Josh Allen.
If you're a regular visitor to this channel, you will realize that one of the things I will always tell you is don't play my hunch, play your hunch. These are close enough, golf boy. So definitely not crazy. Definitely, I don't know if it's time to do that. Not time for me, but if it's time for you, it's okay. Remy has another question in another league. Needs 2 running backs from Rachaad White versus San Francisco, David Montgomery versus Chicago, Devin Singletary versus Arizona. You need what? 2 running backs from this group? Keaton Mitchell versus Cincinnati, Chuba Hubbard, and Darrell Henderson versus Seattle. That's quite a list, Remy, of running backs. Who are we playing?
As long as it's PPR, which I'm assuming it is,
I would
go with the first 2. Rachaad White, the volume he's getting, you can't pass that up. And Montgomery is, that Detroit rushing offense is just unbelievable, and they're both going to get work. Montgomery, actually, the 1-yard touchdown I saw today that Gibbs got today, your boy, which I know you're happy to see Gibbs turning around it later in the season, which we see often with rookie running backs,
right.
But Montgomery was subbed in, and because Gibbs made that play and got so far, he asked Gibbs. He said, and this is coming straight from Gibbs. He said Montgomery offered to let him go in for the touchdown run. So it very possibly could have been another touchdown for David Montgomery. So yeah, Montgomery and Wright. And honestly, it's not, if it's not PPR, if it's half or, standard, I might consider Singletary for White, but I would probably still go White and Montgomery.
I would agree with all of the above. I think the Gibbs Montgomery situation, there's going to be a lot of people that, have one of those guys who are going to be a little worried. Look, there's a lot of split backfields right now where you're finding both players are perfectly viable options. And this is going to lead that parade, the Detroit backfield, as long as they continue a fairly even split, which it sounds like is the plan. So there you have it, Remy. We both agree on this one. So that happens sometimes.
I miss the days of the first 2 to 3 rounds being 95% running backs, and you knew they were all going to get 300 touches.
Right. I mean,
which guy do you want?
that was the thing. I mean, and this is the evolution of the NFL. We were talking about this. I was talking about this again earlier today, and people have heard me here on these live streams talk about this quite often. It's like volume is the key to success. If you have sure volume, I mean, it doesn't always play out. Like we're playing a game of probabilities where you're looking for the most likely outcomes, and the most likely positive outcomes come because somebody has the ball in their hands. Nothing happens when they don't, right? Nothing at all. At least nothing from our perspective. So that's the issue, right? When you have these running backs that are split roles, I mean, you're going to have to learn how to deal with that. And that's maybe why receiver value is going up, right? The volume that they're getting is the top receiving assets in these pass heavy offenses is making a difference. So there you have it. Let's see. Dave Overboard, half-point PPR, which she loves to play. 1, Saquon Barkley against Washington, Henry against Jacksonville, Addison against Denver, and Hollywood Brown against the Houston Texans.
This is tough. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I could go with Hollywood yet. I want to see him. You know, we've seen it in the past with him and Kyler, but we haven't seen it this year. So it's really between Saquon and Henry for me. I love Addison, but he's just not consistent enough with Josh Dobbs under center. You know, Saquon, it was ugly and it looked really, really bad until like the third, fourth quarter. But as we know in fantasy, garbage time counts. And
right,
I think Saquon's going to have, exactly. Volume is key. You know, all those times that Blake Bortles would go into the fourth quarter with -2 points and then come out with 20 plus. But the smart call is Henry. My gut says Saquon. So I do that what you will.
I would probably lean that direction too. And I am not a G man, so I have a little bit more credibility than you. I'm sorry, just in this particular case.
Hey, it's fair. It's fair.
Just in this, like, Jay's a very good player. He knows not to lean too heavily on his team, especially when it's the damn Giants.
Exactly.
Mr. Scampers coming in. Thank you, Mr. Scampers. I appreciate that. Coming from you means a lot. You know, I'm not going to lie. Michael Carter, worthy of a deep stash over Imari DeMarcado.
Over DeMarcado, yes. You know, I'm not looking to stash Michael Carter, but fill your bench with upside plays like that. So yeah, especially in Dynasty, I would be picking up Michael Carter. But redraft, you know, it's more of just a lottery ticket.
In case people have missed out, he was released by the Jets, picked up by the Arizona Cardinals today. So you know, he's a shiny new piece in a place where they need shiny new pieces. There's not a lot there in Arizona right now to help fill the void, right? I mean, once you get past James Conner, who you should be enjoying immensely this year. Hello, Joey, right?
Gotta get that.
Gotta have the Eagle scream. It's very good. It's very good. So, by the way, this is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. This is On the Hot Seat. Jay Felicio is my guest from The Athletic and FTN, the data place. I mean, he does great work there, charting the data, having a great time. It's a great site, great people working there, including the great Jay Felicio. You can follow him on Twitter, or X as we call it, at GmanJ. Don't forget to do that. And this is going to be the new way we do this. I'm getting used to it. I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable with it. We'll do the same thing on Saturdays with the live stream. Eric and Jamie will be similarly outfitted for the DFS live streams as well. This week it'll be Friday night, so watch for that. Let's see.
Two great guys, by the way.
This is like a totally legitimate question here, so I think we should get to this right now. Would the Giants be the worst team in the NFC if they had someone like Baker Mayfield as their quarterback?
Yes, because the offensive line is just in shambles. And I like Baker Mayfield. I think you know, he's doing a really good job in Tampa. I think he's a perfect fit for him. But until we do something about the offensive line, we're not going anywhere.
Thanks, Royal Slade. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everyone coming again. We do this every week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Great guests like Jay. Saturday, just me, all by myself. Friday nights with the DFS live stream. Also, you can hear me on the SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio channel Monday, Thursday, and Friday. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'm on 3 hours Monday and Thursday. You can hear me Saturday from 8 to 11 on the NFL radio, simulcast on the Fantasy channel. So you almost can't escape me. Then Sunday on the pregame show with Jeff Mans and myself, taking you right up to kickoff, giving you all the latest information and keeping you in check. I know when you come here, you're looking for a little more in-depth information. We're happy to do that. We got to go too fast on the Sirius channel. So we like to dig in a little deeper here. So be sure to hit that like button and the notification bell when you subscribe, all those things that YouTube loves that you do and makes the algorithm go, yay.
Give it that.
Do that with me. Do that with me. Yay.
Okay. Yay.
We're so enthusiastic.
Beautiful.
That was great.
Somebody clip that.
Clip that. That's what the kids say. That's like the new kids thing, right? Like clip that.
I'm more on the older side. I'm not one of those youths anymore. So I don't get card. I stopped getting carded, and it's I'll be actually next week is my birthday. I'll be turning 37. So getting up there.
Child, please. I just had one of those this week, and it was not. There was no threes involved.
38.
There was none of that going on. Dame Overboard in the PPR. Boyd versus Baltimore or Thielen versus Dallas. No T. Higgins going up against the Ravens in this one. We saw a very heavy target share. What do you have? 12 targets?
Something along those lines.
Something ridiculous like that. So that's interesting. Or Thielen with the Frank Reich back in as the play caller, but it's against Dallas. I feel like, and you can tell me if I'm like off base here, or you can like dive right in with me. Bryce Young is going through a bit of a thing here. Seems to be a lack of confidence. Seems to be a lack of production beyond the lack of confidence that's been ridiculous. What are we looking at like 11 points a game? I want to say
it's bad. It's really bad.
I'm looking at, yeah.
It's coming up just a little short. I'm sorry for that joke. That was terrible. Yeah, he hasn't thrown for. Has he thrown for over 200? Hasn't thrown over 250 yards in a single game. Only has one game of multiple touchdowns. It's ugly.
Right, and it's against Dallas. I think in this case, I might go Boyd. Like I have high hopes for Thielen with Reich taking back over, and like Lord knows I'll be playing from behind, and Thielen will have all kinds of production. And this is a PPR, but I think for this game without Higgins, and also Andre Sovis is not available. He's
I did not know that.
Takes a little top off. He's been ruled out. Not that he's getting enough of a workload to cut anybody in, but I mean it takes a little bit. Trent Irwin will be in the mix, of course, because he likes to score touchdowns as well, but. Maybe Boyd will catch his touchdown this time.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go with Thielen. It's very close. Like you said, I could easily see Boyd
Ravens tough
having a good game.
Too.
I was going to say that it's a tough matchup as well. And I think Reich taking over the play calling, he's going to want to get some confidence back into Bryce Young, and I think he's going to design some plays to, easy throws to get Thielen the ball, especially early. So, yeah, I lean Thielen, but it's really a coin flip between the two.
I have to look and see what the. I think you're probably correct. As I look at the numbers, I think
I like hearing that.
Correct.
I don't hear that often, but I appreciate that.
Well, it doesn't happen often, right? I mean, that's
exactly.
Yeah, that's that's a pretty tough call. I'll go with you to give a little unanimity here. I don't mind Boyd, but I do think the matchup is pretty daunting. So fair enough there. I think both matchups can be daunting though. Let's see. Rookie 513 has another one here. Pollard cost him a victory last week in a cake matchup, and supposedly it's dessert time again against Carolina. Well framed, rookie. My hunch is to start Montgomery versus Chicago. Will Pollard cost me again and actually show up non-PPR? Well, so this is the conundrum. I think Pollard is a player who right now sits at running back 20. I don't think I have to start him if I have better options.
It's hard, especially when you invest high draft capital in a guy. He was going in the first couple of rounds. But we've seen enough of a sample size that, yeah, he's not a must start. And I don't know if you saw, I put out a tweet. I was talking to Joey when I came up with the idea. We were just sitting there talking. And it's the Spider-Man pointing meme. One side is Tony Pollard, the other one is Lamar Miller. And I'm like, man, that's perfect. Because I fell hard for Lamar Miller. I was a Lamar Miller truther. And it's just... I'm starting Montgomery without hesitation in that situation.
I think I would as well, especially given Bears have been playing a little better defense, though. It is true, just in recent weeks. But I'm with you. Like, I think we'll see more. I've mentioned it on previous live streams, but I talked to Michael Gelkin from the Dallas Morning News, and he's a pretty savvy fantasy guy as well as a beat writer. Not all of them are. He is. And we were discussing Pollard and some of the shortcomings, and I just said, so what do you think? What do you think about Dowdle? Grab him. That was like right away. That was the answer. Just to have him, and that doesn't mean that he's going to be a playable commodity, but certainly that's going to be a limiting factor for Pollard, who it turns out when my old high school rival Skip Pete, running back coach of the Cowboys, previously quarterback of the Saguaro Cougars, back in the day, he said last year, he said, look, do we feel like there is a number, a snap count that we need to hold him to where he becomes less effective? And it seems as though Mike McCarthy says, to hell with that. perhaps to his detriment, or at least to Tony Pollard's detriment. I hate to see that, but that's kind of where we're at. I think this is a fair one, for sure. Mr. Scampers has one here. Diggs Well, so Diggs getting squeaky wheel game. To be fair, Diggs wasn't the it was not Stephon that was squeaky. It was his
He didn't
brother.
say Stephon though. He just said Dig. Or excuse
Fair
me.
enough.
So, no.
Are the Bills broken and going against the Stout Jets defense? PPR Guillotine League. Diggs, Hollywood versus Houston, or Waddle versus Las Vegas?
I'm rolling with Diggs and Scampers. Let us know if that's the FYF listener league, because that was a guillotine league, which I got kicked out of really early because I drafted. And I tell you, Bob, I promise, you know me, I am not a Giants homer. I don't go with my heart when it comes to fantasy, but I waited and I took a shot on Daniel Jones, and that did not work out very well for fantasy.
I took some shots on him as well.
Yeah. So I'm starting Diggs. So especially new offensive coordinator, they're going to do what it takes to get this offense right. There's too much talent. I could consider Waddle, but I'm going Diggs.
Even if he's getting sauced.
That's true, but I think they can move him around because Sauce only plays like I can't remember, at the left side like 90% of the time or something like that, or one of the other.
I don't think it's a shadow situation, so I'm with you. Probably, I mean, I would maybe Waddle is a consideration, but there have been some down weeks for him. I think the down weeks for Diggs are few and far between, and maybe a get right game. By the way, thank you everybody for the happy belated. It was just like I've had a lot of these. Birthdays. It's not like a big deal for me anymore. Like once you get past 1,000, you just like go, man, I don't need any more of those.
The last milestone is 25, where you can rent a car by yourself. After that, there's nothing really to get that excited about.
Mr. Scampers has strong opinions sometimes. Doesn't need to talk about the Panthers. We did need to talk about them a little bit. Thank you, Pat V. Appreciate you liking the new place. I like it too. I'm getting the hang of it. Feeling a little more comfortable as I go along here. Getting to some more questions here momentarily. Well, you're welcome, Remy. I hope you're not leaving now. We have the rest of the show. We got another 20 minutes to answer your questions. We like having you here.
If you have no fantasy questions, throw in some crazy questions. What's his Bob, I got one for you quick. What's your favorite Metallica song?
There's too many to count. I mean, you'd probably start with Master of Puppets. If I could only listen to one forever and no other one, it would be Master of Puppets.
Okay.
But I mean, there's about 30 others that I think I could make an argument for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm partial to Fade to Black myself.
It's a big catalog, I heard a lot of it on 2 nights. When you can do 2 concerts with no repeat set list.
Exactly. That's that. Yeah, there's plenty of songs to choose from.
And there were still many I did not see over the course of those 2 nights. Dave Listman would like to know this. What an attractive dog that is. 2 spots for flex and a half-point PPR. Michael Wilson, Romeo Doubs, Ty Chandler.
If Madison's out, Chandler's in, no question, with the volume. And between Wilson and Dobbs, Dobbs is, the volume hasn't been there, but he's been who Jordan Love looks for in the red zone. Man, this is tough. I think I'm going to go with Dobbs.
I think
Dobbs,
I would too.
It's close, but I feel a little better about it.
I feel like I would too. Like I was impressed with what Michael Wilson got, the targets he got. It has not been fantastic for Doubs the last few weeks. 5 targets, 3 targets 2 weeks ago. But prior to that was 9, 5, 4, 13, 12. Slow start to the year as well. But I mean, he seems like he's the dominant piece there. I would probably go in that direction too. I'm kind of a Michael Wilson fan, but I don't think I'm quite there yet.
Good matchup too for the passing game.
Yeah, for sure, against the Chargers. I'll go with that one. And I'm with you. Ty Chandler, as long as there is no Alexander Madison, and not a lot of guys have played that first game back from.
Right. I think Purdy's the only one that's been able to do that.
2 of them did it. Musgrave did it too for Green Bay, but he had like the 10-day turnaround.
I gotcha. Okay.
So, and not everyone even makes that as well. Half-point PPR, drop Foreman or Chubbard. I like it when he says like that.
Chubbard.
Boy.
If you have to drop one of these 2, Foreman has looked really, really good. But Khalil Herbert's coming back. Justin Fields is coming back. Roschon Johnson is going to get involved. I know he hasn't looked that good so far, but Chubbard has pretty much the backfield to himself. They signed Sanders to this contract, but they made him the starter, and Sanders just has not looked good.
No, Sanders looked horrible this last game. What do you have, -2 yards? It was horrible. I think they regret this one. I'm probably keeping Chubbard too. I'm not enthusiastic, as Scampers clearly is not either, given his previous comment about the Panthers. But I do think it's like the Andy Barron's murky three-way split, murky three-man rotation in the backfield at least. Once Khalil Herbert's back, and then both those guys. By the way, Foreman's a little nicked up. He's working on a limited basis. Matt Eberflus says
he does this too. That like he'll have these games where you see the old flashes of Foreman, where he was so hyped up, and then his body just can't take it. Is what it seems like.
Yeah. So, and we'll see what when Herbert's back. I do think Foreman's earned a bit of a role though, but it's definitely going to be chopped up to some degree, more so than the others, more so than Hubbard at least. So let's see, what do we got here? Golf Boy, another question for us, Bob and Jay. That's you and I, in case you weren't sure.
Well,
Kincaid versus the New York Jets or McBride at Houston. Both of these are great matchups for tight ends.
It is
seriously.
And I actually, I've got in my two most important leagues. One of them I have Kincaid, and one of them I have McBride. Let's see, what do the matchups look like? Because it's super close. The Jets. Let me see what they've done against the tight end.
I'll just go ahead while you're looking that up. I have them ranked consecutively. Dalton Kincaid at 5, McBride at 6. The Jets have been super generous to the tight end position, more so than most any other position for them. The Houston Texans also super generous to tight ends.
I think I would lean McBride just because I think there's going to be more points scored in that game.
I'll go with that. That's a fair assessment.
I think that's going to be the tiebreaker for me.
I like the way you do that, Jay. It's almost like you know what you're doing. It's scary.
Sometimes.
Yeah, have brief moments of brilliance interspersed with my own idiocy too. Need one in a non-PPR DJ Moore at Detroit if Fields plays, and I think he will. So let's go ahead and assume that's the case. Nico Collins versus Arizona if he's healthy. I don't know if we should go that far, but he was limited today. While Noah Brown with a knee injury did not practice whatsoever. That's what we wanted to hear. DK Metcalf at the Rams. He's due, but Gino's history versus LA Rams isn't great. Go ahead and pick one in a non-PPR.
Ooh, I didn't even realize non-PPR, even though you said it twice. So thank you for that. Nico supposedly said that he's playing this week, but take that for what it's worth. Man, this is tough. I lean, DK Metcalf, even though he really hasn't put up these monster games. I mean, past 3 games, 12 targets, 4 targets, and then 14 targets. If Matthew Stafford plays, I'm going to go with DK Metcalf, because if he doesn't and it winds up being they cut what's his name, right? Who was it that they had for the 1 or 2 games? Wentz is the official backup.
Oh, yeah, right? Wentz is the backup. Rippon's gone.
Yeah, so yeah, if Stafford doesn't play, they're not really going to have to air the ball out, and Gino hasn't looked as good. You know what? I take it all back. I'm going DJ Moore. Even with, I'm going DJ Moore. I just think there's going to be, like I was talking about, a lot of points scored, half PPR. I think you're going to see a better chance of DJ Moore scoring a touchdown than Metcalf. It's between those two for me, even if Nico plays.
It's between those two for me as well, and I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Metcalf and hope for that huge game. I mean, he
twist my arm a little bit, and I would probably go Metcalf as well. Right. It's close.
Right. It is very close. And Nico, I think even if he was healthy, I'd be dialed back a little bit. By the way, Robert Woods was the other Texans receiver who did not practice to start the week. So it was Noah Brown and Woods and Nico working on a limited basis. John Fusek needs 2. Mostert versus Las Vegas, Connor versus Houston, Henderson versus Seattle, or Herbert, if he plays, versus Detroit.
I don't think I would go with Herbert just because we don't know what we're going to get, especially with Foreman playing better. Connor, need to. So Connor's a lock for me out of those guys. And honestly, if Mostert missed practice, but he's been doing that.
Yeah, that's the norm.
Right. So it's pretty easily Mostert and Connor for me.
And we don't know if Achan's going to actually be activated. It sounds like he will based on what, the reporting and what Mike McDaniel said, just sounds like he's ready and, there had no issues. I think there was some talk that maybe they really had a tough decision to put him on IR, that it was close enough that maybe they weren't going to put him on IR. So I think he'll be back soon. So either way, though, even if he's back, I'm playing Mostert and Connor as well. Pretty easy call for me. Alejandro Suarez, one of these. Thank you, sir. I'm from the Southwest. I need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. Has McCaffrey. What if we told you not to play McCaffrey?
Bench that McCaffrey guy.
What if we told you to bench him, Alejandro? You would hate us. Huh? Breece Hall, DeAndre Swift, Jerome Ford, Amari Cooper, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, Puka. How many teams are in your league, sir?
So we're basically benching half the guys because he needs 5.
He needs 5.
2, 4, 6, 8. Oh no. No, so benching 4 of them. So out of these 4, gonna bench Ford. Sure. I do like him, but and Cooper, honestly. Ford and Cooper. Sure. Swift hasn't looked that good lately. I know he had that crazy couple week stretch at the beginning of the year. Let's see. What has Swift done here lately? I mean,
game mode seems like he's starting to get the touchdowns, right? Like he's starting to vulture just a little bit.
Right. So yeah, Cooper, Ford. I think I'm gonna bench Swift. And
you're gonna play Hall, right? McCaffrey and Hall.
Yeah, McCaffrey, Hall, definitely.
They're your running backs. So Deebo, Devontae, Puka.
If Stafford plays, I'm gonna go Puka.
Okay.
If Stafford does not play, I'd go DJ Moore.
That seems reasonable. I think we've arrived at a spot, Mr. Alejandro Suarez, and I hope that's helpful to you. It was helpful to us to work through those. I'm pretty sure that that was a complex one. But wait. We have another complex one. No, it's not that complex. Not like that. I won't do it again. 1 Charles Davis needs for a PPR flex. Need 1 from Trey McBride versus Houston. Terry McLaurin versus the New York Football Giants. You know a little bit about them. Or Jordan Addison at Denver, assuming Jefferson is out, or even if he's in. I don't know. I think it's a fair game either way, but obviously a little more prominent role if there is no Jefferson.
Yeah, Denver, was giving up a ton through the air at the beginning of the year, but they've played better as of late. So I'm not going to go with Addison here. It's really hard. As much as I like Trey McBride to start a tight end at flex, the floor is just so low. I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin. With Howell leading the league in passing yards. The Giants defense, although they've been playing better, have given up a ton of points. It's McLaurin here. It's pretty easy for me.
I think that's the direction I would go as well. I do love the matchup for McBride, but McLaurin is hard for me to pass up on as well. By the way, thank you, Rookie 5513. I like the new format too. I'm sure as I get more handy and convenient with it, I will get even smoother still. And I know I'm so smooth already. It's hard to imagine me getting any smoother. Not just my head, but all my operations. So thank you for the kind words. And yes, thank you, Jay. We've got a few more minutes here. We will get to all the rest of the remaining questions because that's what we do. All the questions, and we're closing in on that now. So if you have one, get it in and we'll get to it. Charles Davis needs a PPR. Oh, we already did that one. I gotta see, this is what I have to get better with. You have to make them go away when you're done with them. So we'll go to this one. Mark Spafford, and thanks for coming, Mark. I hope you're doing well. Is Gus Edwards ceiling too high to sit? I feel Mitchell is more of a threat to Hill snaps. I would agree with that portion. Edwards started with that last week. I would agree with that portion. I guess the problem for me, or the concern, Jay, is it's been so touchdown dependent for Gus Edwards. At some point, you feel like there's going to be some regression coming. Are you worried about it this week? I guess we don't know all the options, right?
Right. Exactly. He's definitely not a must start. For some people, the way he's been playing here recently, they think he's in high running back 2 status. That's at this point in the season a must start. But like you said, I actually wrote about Gus Edwards, and I had a similar question in the mailbag. It was for last week. So it didn't even include this past game, but the 3 games that he's went off. Week 7, he had a 80-yard reception that, chipped in PPR leagues an extra 9 points. He's got targeted 1 or 0 times, and I think it's 7. He's got 1 game this season that he's been targeted more than 1 time. Right. The week after that, it was 3 touchdowns. You can't depend on that. And then the week after that, 2 touchdowns on 5 touches. You cannot depend on that. So, he's definitely not a must start. I feel more comfortable starting him than many of the options that are out there. Like, he's not somebody I'm actively looking to sit. But if you've got somebody with, getting more volume, I would go with them.
I feel like he's an ideal flex level play, right? Like,
Yep.
you got like
Right.
2 really solid running backs that you're playing ahead of him that you feel really confident in. And then he can put like a huge ceiling on top of that. And if he doesn't, if it comes up short for that game, then maybe you come out ahead. And I think that's the direction I'd like to go. Is Addison a better start this week with or without Jefferson playing? That's an interesting question, Golf Boy.
That is a really good question. Honestly gonna say it really is not much of a difference because the extra volume that Addison would see is negated when Jefferson's on the field. The defensive attention is going to go over to him. So I would probably say maybe slightly better if he doesn't, just because it's low passing volume already with Dobbs. So the extra.
I'm just looking at the game logs. I mean, he had a 10 target game against San Francisco without Jefferson, which was his highest total. But I mean, he had some games with Jefferson, like 9 and 8. And so I don't think that's necessarily like the limiting factor. And he's just such a big play threat. I think he's an equally good play either way. And, maybe there's a little something to say, yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson's obviously going to draw a lot of attention. But like, sometimes like, what happened with Jamar Chase last week? I mean, they put the corner number 1 on to Boyd and then they double the lead guy. And maybe that would be a similar situation. So I don't know if it works out any better for him or not in that case. So there you have it. Hope that was helpful. Kevin Payne has a question. Would Stroud jump Herbert if Keenan Allen doesn't go? Keenan Allen is a little sore shoulder. They're calling him day to day. I have not seen the practice report because they practice late. But let's just say there is no Keenan Allen. Let's pretend for a brief moment there was not one of those. What would you do?
I'd be starting Stroud.
I think it's close enough that.
Yeah. With no Josh Palmer. Obviously, Mike Williams is out. Yeah. I'm going to go Stroud if Allen's out.
I'm with you there as well. Kevin Payne has one more question here. PPR, let's see. James Cook going against the Jets, Ford against the Steelers, or Ty Chandler against the Broncos. Am I overthinking Ford due to the quarterback? I don't know. I think Ford, the workload's been good for Ford. I think he seems to have moved well ahead of Kareem Hunt at this point, although Kareem Hunt's getting a lot of the short yardage stuff.
Yeah, that's what he's getting, the goal line work, but they've really used Ford at the end of the games when they're trying to run the clock out. So I still like Ford a lot. Man, it's tough. I think I would still go James Cook.
I would hope that there are the lessons learned from
I would hope so.
Not always the case. And there could be a Leonard Fournette, right? Like, what if Leonard Fournette shows up? Maybe that makes a difference as well.
Yeah, that Lenny coming in to seal a touchdown could be a difference between just a mediocre day and a really good day.
Is Rachaad White's hot streak and volume enough to start him against the 49ers defense? I think as a receiver it is. Do you agree with that?
100%. Rachaad White in PPR leagues, his volume he's getting in the passing game, he's a must start.
All right, we got a few more here, and then we'll call it a night. By the way, Jay Felicio, find him at The Athletic. Tell us what people should look for when they go to The Athletic. What do you got there for them?
So I'm doing a couple different things over there. First, I'm part of the mailbag rotation. So once a month, I answer the questions of the mailbag. I had it 2 weeks, so it's going to be December before I'm back at it. I'm doing the betting previews over there for 5 or 6 of the NFL games. The preview for tomorrow night's game was done by me. And then on Sundays, we actually just started it this week. I'm doing kind of a live blog type of thing where I pick out 3 or 4 of the biggest stories that are happening right then, right there, and give you instant rapid reaction of, it was like when Ty Chandler was getting some work before Madison went out. Just kind of talked about that, Chandler's somebody you should be stashing, and then boom, Madison gets a concussion. He's out for the game, and, updated it there. And then just talking about the happenings of the day, and just updating those as the day goes along.
Everyone go check that out at the Athletic. It's a great place. A couple more questions and we'll call it a night. Remy wants to know, he has Justin Jefferson in his IR spot. If he's active, he'd have to drop someone. Would that someone be Zach Moss? Yes, Jonathan Taylor. But Moss is the only one he could drop. And I think that's his only option. Well, if that's That's the only, yeah. I mean, like I would do that though. I mean, Moss, it seems like the worm has turned there. Jonathan Taylor, it seems to be the dominant piece. I would love to have his handcuff, but I would rather have Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, it's tough, and I understand the hesitation as good as Zach Moss looked early in the year, but if he's the only one, I would definitely try, especially this late. I'm not one to necessarily stash handcuffs, but we're at the point in the season. Use your bench. You don't need that extra tight end if your guys had the bye already. You don't need that fourth, fifth wide receiver. Start safeguarding yourself for the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, dude, definitely do that. Royals laid, half point PPR. Sutton versus Minnesota. Chandler at Denver. Deontay Johnson at Cleveland. Deontay Johnson came up with a thumb injury today. That'll be something to watch.
I did not know
going
that.
forward. Yes, so limited to, I think at the very best, to limited, maybe even more.
I'm gonna go with Sutton here. Russ Wilson has seemed to turn back into Mr. Unlimited, and he's not putting up a ton of volume when it comes to passing, but he's looking for Sutton, and Sutton scoring touchdowns. And Minnesota, even with Dobbs, has been able to move the ball and score some points. So I think I would go Sutton just with Cleveland. They've got one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. Chandler's a tad safer. So it really depends on the matchup. If you're, a heavy favorite and you just need to have a good game, I might lean towards Chandler. But if you need those, need the upside, I would go Sutton.
It was a did not practice for Deontay Johnson, so that'll be something to watch. By the way, Keenan Allen did not practice as well. Got a defense question. John Fusek wants to know waiver wire Chargers, Miami, Denver, or Minnesota. I'm looking at who the quarterbacks are these teams are playing. The Chargers playing Jordan Love. Miami playing who is Miami playing?
Miami is playing
the Raiders. That might be one to pick on. Denver playing the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know if I want to pick on Josh Dobbs because he'll run against you. Minnesota, conversely, don't know if I want to pick on them either. So I'm
going Miami. Yeah, I'm with you. Pretty easily Miami.
All right, one more from Mr. Scampers before we get out of here. Curtis Samuel versus New York Giants or Gabe against the Jets.
I feel like Scampers just wanted to get one more shot in there with.
I think he
Giants.
did.
I think that's what it was. Scamps, I love you, but I'm a little upset with you right now. Between these two, I'm gonna go with Gabe. I just, he's inconsistent, but he's one of those that if you have him, if you roster him, he's in your lineup every week because if you try to play the matchups, you're gonna miss the big games. So even like you said, if Diggs gets sauced, maybe it opens up some room for Gabe to run.
All right, there we have it, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for coming again. Appreciate you putting up with some of my struggles early on in the stream, trying to keep up with all the new technology. I'll pick it up. I'll do better on Saturday. You'll see Eric and Jamie on Friday night doing the DFS show. I'll be here at noon on Saturday answering all your questions. You can hear me on the radio. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, we'll be on for 3 hours. Friday night, 10 p.m., we'll be on for 2 hours. Saturday night, 3 hours more of Football Diehards on SiriusXM. NFL and Fantasy Sports Radio. Then you'll catch me on the pregame show with Jeff Mans on Sunday from 11 to 1. I don't want you to miss me, so go check me out. Also look for all the other stuff here at FootballDiehards.com. Bunch of great columns up, all kinds of great news and information to catch Jay on at The Athletic and also at FTN Fantasy. It's a great site as well. Don't miss it. We'll say good night. Appreciate y'all. Bye.